listening to the Construction Big Breakfast, where we give you a hearty serving of insider tips and business strategies to help fuel your day so you can thrive in the construction industry. Now, here's your host, Tip Top Tim Fitch.
Welcome, everyone, to the next episode of the Construction Big Breakfast podcast. And I'm your host, as always, Tip Top Tim Fitch. And today I'm joined by two colleagues, one who you'll have seen before, which is Ben Pritchard, who looks after our Canadian business, and we've got Sheldon West, who has just joined Invennt as our business development leader based in Toronto. So welcome, everyone.
Thank you.
Good morning, good afternoon. Yeah.
Morning, afternoon.
Yes, good afternoon in the UK and good morning in Toronto, Sheldon.
Yes, just past 9.
Welcome to Invennt and Happy New Year. And I'm sure as you've watched a few of these episodes in the past, you know what the first question is going to be. It's not a trick. So, Sheldon, what did you have for breakfast?
Yeah, today for breakfast, I had a bowl of oatmeal. I had a good cup of coffee, and then the leftover strawberries that my daughter didn't eat. So, pretty good meal.
Yeah, sounds pretty good. Come on, Ben, how about you?
Yeah, so for a change, I thought, no, I'm not going to just have my porridge that I have every day and sort of bore everyone on the podcast. I thought I'll push the boat out. I thought, well, if we're going to do something talking about Canada, I've got to get the maple syrup out. And then I thought to myself, I might as well make some waffles. So this morning I had some waffles, fruit, and slathered it in maple syrup. It was lovely.
There you go. True Canadian.
Very on topic. I had my usual lockdown breakfast, 2 boiled eggs and some soldiers to dunk in there. And one of the dividends for me during lockdown is because obviously we're not going out, we're not spending any money in having proper breakfast with anybody or even buying cups of coffee anymore. I've sort of upgraded the coffee beans I use at home because
the one issue of
from
podcast at home. You're going to have to do that again, Tim. We lost you on upgrade coffee beans.
Yeah. So just to recap, during the lockdown, one of the differences because we're not spending any money on anything, we've upgraded the sort of quality of some of the stuff we're using at home, including the coffee beans. So we're getting some really great mail order coffee beans. But today I've been finishing off this special Christmas blend, which was produced by Fortnum & Masons, which somebody sent to me as a Christmas present, and that's really enjoyed that. So anyway, that's what I've had. No maple syrup today for me. Anyway, Sheldon, it's really great you've joined us. It's really exciting times, and Ben's going to talk a little bit with you about what we hope to achieve and what's happening in 2021. But perhaps you could just give our listeners a bit of a run through about what you've done recently in your career prior to Invennt, because I obviously know the answer to this. You've got a slightly different background to most of the rest of the team, which I'm sure is going to add loads of value.
Yep. For past, I guess ever since I started my career, it's always been in and around building materials and construction. So just over the past 12 years or so, that's been my experience in the Canadian market, working for large manufacturers on the selling and business development side. So some of the companies you're probably familiar with, Certainty, Saint-Gobain, Rockwool, and most recently Assa Abloy, which is a door security company out in Europe. So for the past 12 years or so, that's been my focus has been into sales in the construction field, kind of touching everybody, developers, architects, designers, contractors, builders. So trying to get a good lay of the land in Canada over the last 12 years, which has been pretty great. Then my focus kind of changed and I wanted to have something more challenging, more of a growth opportunity for my career. And that's when I saw the opportunity at Invennt. So I thought, why not? I should apply.
And we're really happy that you did apply, and we're really excited about sort of where you can hopefully help us go. Like you say, we hope and we think there are great opportunities for Invennt and for sort of the shred and construction opportunity to grow massively over the sort of coming years. So it's great that you've joined us and will help sort of spearhead that growth opportunity for us.
Yeah. Thank you.
The most important thing about Sheldon, mostly for our sort of more UK-centric followers, is great news. It's another Man United fan. So
exactly.
Is that association football, Benjamin?
It is. So it's sort of it's on there when, you know, as long as it's not Brendan or Cameron doing the hiring process. Otherwise, you know, it's not plans.
I mean, I obviously I'm not a football fan, but I can't help but I'm surrounded by the culture of it. Yeah. And Sheldon already knows this. We've got another gentleman starting in the UK in a couple of weeks' time, who passed the Brendan test because he passed the test. And I was very careful not to include that in the briefing that I gave to Brendan. It didn't take him long to find out. Anyway, that's enough of association football.
So you mentioned sort of wanting to sort of go for a different sort of challenge. Hopefully we're a challenge in a good way, not just a bad way, but I guess we'll ask you that question again in 6 months or so. But I guess we talk about it a lot, as shred being a great opportunity for the industry. I mean, in the conversations we've had over the interviews in the last sort of week or so, is there any sort of key things that you're sort of picking up on that you want to try and sort of run with?
Yeah, I think the program in itself in Canada, it might not, with construction industry, the construction sector, I think there's a lack of knowledge with the shred program. So I think there's a huge opportunity to talk about Invennt, but also talk about what we can provide in terms of shred, and then seeing the benefits and the contractors in the construction industry, seeing that benefit by participating in the shred program. So I think from what I'm focused on is just getting the knowledge out there on shred, what it is, and then what Invennt can do for your company. With the growth over the last 5-10 years or so, there's been a huge push with innovation all across different sectors. So I think there's huge potential with that in Canada, and I think Invennt will see the growth over the years to come.
And in sort of building materials, especially over the last sort of decade or so, you know, you will have seen a lot of innovation, I'm sure, and innovation that's often taken for granted.
Yeah, and it could be something as small as just a unique way a company has in installing exterior cladding. That they might not see that as innovation, but in the industry it is, because you're saving time and money by just adding a little feature to an exterior cladding. Or it could be in an insulation system or a building science system where it meets code, but it also reduces or increases the R value and reduces thermal bridging. So a lot of key things that these manufactured and building materials are putting together, they might not know that that's something that you can qualify as a shred. So that's where I want to come in there and kind of do some product knowledge and teach them that what you're doing qualifies for this.
Yeah, and that is often the challenge that we face. It is that you know, we are an industry that has a great can-do attitude, but also that means that we sort of get lost a little bit and we don't sort of realise that in that can-do we do really good stuff. So hopefully that, like you say, we can help teach people and help sort of open their eyes into sort of some of the fantastic things that people are doing. Because there's no doubt, I mean, the industry has come an awful long way in the last few years, and there's just, you know, so much more to come, as well as we sort of better embrace digital technologies, improve our approach to sustainability and things like that. You know, the future's bright, hopefully.
Yeah, no, it is. I agree.
Yeah, I'll echo all of that. That a greater part of our job is really educating the industry about how much better they are than they perhaps think of themselves, because we're all very humble in the construction sector, which is usually seen as a virtue, but it doesn't really work when you're trying to make a shred claim.
Could have made a joke there, Tim. Are you sure? You know, all of us are humble.
Yeah. Depends on who you talk to. Yeah.
Everyone knows I'm not quite the same as everyone else in construction, but people, even when I was in the thick of it, even I undersold, I think, what people were doing and what we were achieving in the projects and teams that we were working in, because it's actually a nice culture, really. You mentioned it, Ben. It's a can-do, get the job done, overcome the problems, anything's in the way, climb over it or walk around it, just get the thing problem solved and get it finished, which is exactly what you want if you're a client. It's exactly what you want from your people if you run a construction business. You want people to be passionate about getting the thing built safely, of course. Yeah. But the trouble is that mindset means you've got a bit of a barrier to break down if you're in our game or industry, which is trying to really help businesses get this money back that the government has put there to help them do even more development work in the future for stuff they've done in the past. So that's a big essence of what we do. It's an education, it's a confidence building thing. It's just trying to add that extra little dimension to the way people think about what they do, so that they can lift the lid on this and get what they deserve.
Yeah, and obviously we're in sort of lockdown 3 over here in the UK. I'm not sure. I mean, you've not come out of lockdown quite the same as we sort of have over here. I don't think, Sheldon. I think Toronto's been. I mean, there's a reason why your numbers are so much lower than over here. But it's it's a time where the industry could do with a bit of a boost as well, in many ways. I mean, how have you found sort of through what's happened, and are people sort of in and around Ontario and Canada generally? Is there light at the end of the tunnel? Vaccines coming out and everything like that?
Yeah, I think for a little while before the big announcement with the vaccines, people were kind of worried about the future was going to hold for Canada with the COVID crisis. But then when the vaccines came out, they gave a little glimmer of hope. So a lot of people are saying, yeah, we get the vaccine, and then eventually this can kind of die down, go away, kind of go back to some sort of normal or a new normal in Canada. But it's just been slow rolling out. But I think a lot of people are optimistic with the vaccinations and going forward with Canada. So yeah, well, Ontario's in lockdown, complete lockdown right now for a couple more weeks. But our numbers aren't as bad as some areas in the UK as well. But I think overall, they do see that light at the end of the tunnel. And they do see that we're going to get past this. So they're kind of all coming together saying, let's do our part, let's isolate, try not to have larger groups at our house or outside, and then try to get past this.
Yeah, I think one of the other what's the word? Plus points is perhaps isn't quite the right expression I'm looking for, but one of the great things that construction's been able to do, both in Canada and the UK, is keep going. Yeah, largely, but having had to do a lot of thinking and spend some money to make their sites and offices as COVID secure as you reasonably can. And the work we've already done with some of our clients this year or last year, some of that work, some of that spend, you can recover it because you've literally had to develop new ways of working to overcome a new hazard. And of course, that's eligible. And
well, and not just that. I mean, some of our sort of design and engineering clients as well. They've spent a lot of time thinking about how air conditioning units, air distribution, all of these things. It's historically and traditionally not had to consider in too much detail airborne sort of contaminants and issues. Yes, there is an element of it, but a lot of recirculation does happen, which with something as catchable as COVID is unfortunately not great. So we've had some clients really sort of put a lot of thought and some really interesting sort of amalgamation of technologies and systems together to try and future-proof. And because everyone,
Yes.
a lot of people do talk about this not being the end, but also what happens if something else similar happens. So as an industry, we can be at the forefront of trying to help society long term as well.
Yeah,
Now,
exactly.
I agree with you, Ben. People I've been having discussions with over the last, just this week, obviously after the holiday and just before Christmas, there's going to be the most colossal boom in office fit out, both design and construction, because they're going to have to change in all sorts of ways. And we've got a number of podcasts that I'm lining up now with people talking about that there's going to be the most massive amount of innovation required to make existing offices usable in the new era.
Yeah, and I think not just that, there'll be limited demand for more.
Yeah. But all sorts of things, because I mean, certainly Toronto and definitely the UK and London and the other major cities, I think the demand for public transport will fall, but the demand for cycle spaces will increase. Parking spaces. And also changing facilities and having a shower after you've ridden to it, all of that stuff. And all of that's going to have to be contained within the existing office building. So there's going to be a massive radical change, I think, in the ground floor, where the meeting rooms are, all sorts.
Everything.
And I think, although I think spending 5 days a week in the office forever is unlikely, and it might only be 3 days a week on average for people, but there's going to be a lot more stuff required in an office to make it function, and therefore I think the demand for office space will eventually start growing again, but it will look quite different than that we've become accustomed to.
Yes,
my view. Anyway, that's the debate. See whether my vision of the future is right or wrong, but
I think it's not just the office. I think the home as well. New homes. It just won't be selling the number of bedrooms. It'll be, is there a home office in there as well?
Yeah.
And
I know, Jim. Yeah. So, Sheldon, one thing that is different about our hiring of you and compared to sort of anyone else who's joined Invennt lately is that it's all been done a 5-hour time difference, and it will be continued to be done for God knows how long. A 5-hour time difference. So hopefully in 2021 we'll actually meet face to face properly.
Yes.
But that will it's certainly something that we never thought we would do anytime soon when we first started setting Invennt up in Canada. You go back 12 months. And I think you were in Toronto this week and I was there next week because of Couture joining us. And I just wanted to make sure that there was at least some sort of continuity of face-to-face for the first month. So there's a real sort of shift and change in how we work, and you're going to be left alone.
I don't mind that. And again, that's what one of the things during the pandemic, which came up, was technology and the use of technology, and people are figuring out new ways to communicate with people across the globe, and they're realizing that we don't always have to be in the same space to get things done. So I think it's a good thing that a lot of people are participating in these webinars, podcasts, using Zoom, Microsoft Teams, because it just brings more of the company together. Rather than having an annual or semi-annual sales meeting, you can kind of have that in a week. So
don't worry, when it is possible, we're still going to do it.
Well,
it's going to be the next 3 months, I don't think.
When I get to England, I'll have to catch an episode of an old show my mom used to watch called Keeping Up Appearances.
Oh yeah, it's
British.
hard.
Yeah, one of my mom's favorite British sitcoms.
Well, we look forward to being able to meet face to face, because obviously we want to show you London, and we want to see how it's happening now in Toronto, because I haven't been there since February last year and been since March.
March, yeah.
Yeah. So we feel we've been forced into this neglect.
Yeah.
There's nothing to do about it. But as soon as I've had that jab, which I'm hoping is in the next couple of months, and we get the all clear, then we'll start. We're not going to drop the new ways of doing things, obviously, but we do want to mix back in some of the old, because it's that the blend, I think, is the future.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, still have to have that human connection where you're kind of face to face with someone. So
Yeah, but there is great opportunity that from all the bad that's happened, there is good as well that will hopefully sort of have a positive impact on people's lives, society, and we've sort of mentioned the reduction in sort of travel. If we can keep that down, keep the carbon emissions down, and things like that as well, that's nothing but sort of good for the globe. So hopefully. Long term, there will be some sort of good, not just the bad that we're all experiencing at the moment.
Yeah, exactly. No, good.
Anyway,
Let's try and think of something uplifting and positive to talk about for 5 minutes.
This might sound totally ridiculous in Canada, but I thought I'll just check Google before this podcast recording, and I typed in Sheldon West into Google. Now, but bear in mind, I'm sat near London. Now, when you do it sat near London, of course, what you soon learn is that Sheldon is a suburb of Birmingham in the West Midlands, because it comes up with Sheldon West Wikipedia.
Yeah.
I don't know if that happens elsewhere in the world, but
I think when you type in Sheldon West here, there's a place in Florida that's Sheldon West Street or Sheldon Street.
Yeah. All right, so there we go. So we can add that to the targets for the year. Try and make Sheldon the most popular thing on Google.
Using their analytics, yeah.
Anyway, this was an intro to Sheldon. I hope everyone's got a good feel for what Sheldon's like. We are tremendously excited that Sheldon's joined us, albeit under the most peculiar circumstances, which no one would have anticipated a year ago. Nevertheless, it's great news for us. I think it's pretty good news for Sheldon, and it's going to be great news for the construction industry. So it just really remains for me to say thanks for watching. If you've liked it, like it, and follow us on the YouTube channel. Get our followers up, please. And this is really a bonus track, so there'll probably be another podcast a week after this one's published. Can't remember who it is yet, but anyway, thanks for watching, and see you next time. Bye.
Yeah. Take care, everyone.
Come to Invennt for the highest R&D tax credit you can claim. We help construction businesses get back millions in tax credits every year. Contact us today for a free review. Thanks for joining us this week on the Construction Big Breakfast. Make sure to visit our website, www.inventt.com, where you can subscribe to the Construction Big Breakfast on all platforms, so you'll never miss a show. While you're at it, if you found value in the show, we'd appreciate a positive rating. Or if you'd simply share it with a friend, that would help us out too. Be sure to tune in for our next episode.